Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode 92 of the Stomp the Bus show. I am your host, Mark Harris, coming at you with a solo episode. Today, Colton will be back sometime early next week when we preview the Wyoming game and kind of do a general preview of the ASU season, but this will be the last solo episode of the summer. Before we get started, please like and subscribe on YouTube. You know, they say it helps with the algorithm. So please drop a like, subscribe if you can. We're up to 46 subscribers. So that's how you know we're killing it, obviously, compared to all the other YouTube accounts out there, just destroying them. Uh, no, it's still good to have the subscribers we have. We appreciate all of you. And then please like or rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. That helps as well. We appreciate that. And also, please follow the College Huddle Podcast Network. It is at College Huddle on Twitter. You can find tons of their podcasts there, tons of great Big 12 podcasts on there. So it's it really has a lot, and there's all sorts of great Big 12 podcasts that are part of the network as well. You can find the website at thecollegehuddle.com, and they do great work. You know, it's a lot of fans covering their teams as well through a podcast, and you get some good perspectives and good content. So love to promote that. And I mean, they've helped this show grow a bit as well. And it's great to be a part of their network. So done with that. Please like and subscribe, rate and review, and let's get rolling. Okay. I'm recording this 1 week from the no, I'm not. I keep thinking that the ASU game is on Thursday, August 31st. August 31st is a Saturday. They've had a few Thursday openers recently, so that's probably why. ASU's season opener, I'm recording this on Thursday night, August 22nd. You'll probably hear it on Friday the 23rd or later. But ASU season opener is over a week away. And earlier this week, Kenny Dillingham named a starting quarterback, and it was not a surprise. Hold on. Oh my gosh, Sam Darnold starting for ASU. 27-year-old Sam Darnold would be excellent. No, Sam Leavitt is your starting quarterback. This was reported by Pete Thamel of ESPN, Chris Cartman of Sun Devil Source, and many others. Not a surprise here at all. It looked maybe a little bit hairy early on in camp when Jeff Sims came in and performed better than people thought. But as camp has gone along and has now concluded, Leavitt rose above the rest of the competition and was just more consistent and took care of the ball more. Cartman on Twitter, Chris Cartman, had mentioned that he had not as many Jeopardy balls as you might think. And Dillingham mentioned in his press conference earlier this week that out of 300 team situations, he had 2 interceptions. And that's a pretty good, you would take that from any quarterback, right? So, especially a redshirt freshman. So Leavitt's done what he's had to do at camp. He threw 2 touchdowns against, not against anyone, at the Camp Tonazona scrimmage. And then in the next scrimmage, that was on Saturday night in Mountain America Stadium, not Sun Devil Stadium, Mountain America Stadium, he threw for 2 touchdowns as well. 30-yard bomb to Jordan Tyson. It's always Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson I am so excited to watch him play because from what I remember from his speed at Colorado 2 years ago, this dude is going to be electric. So I cannot wait to watch him play. And then he also threw a 1-yard touchdown to Malik McClain, who has been, I mean, getting Malik McClain and Shimon Mateer after spring ball is incredible. The way that Malik McClain has come in and just is going to be a starting wide receiver on this team it's just crazy. just how quickly he assimilated in and just come in and been ready to go and just been super productive and athletic. I think you expect the starting wideouts to be Jordan Tyson, Malik McClain, and then Stovall as the slot guy with Guillory and Troy O'Meara rotating in, and Jake Smith as well. I am still just blown away that Malik McClain has been this impressive. So anyway, and Sam Leavitt has hooked up with him in a football sense um, frequently. So I'm glad that connection is growing. But as it relates to Leavitt, getting this back on the tracks, it's so. What I loved about Sam Leavitt's kind of recent performance at camp, reportedly, is that he didn't just like win the quarterback competition by default. It didn't feel like Sam Leavitt outlasted the other guys. It doesn't feel like he's being given the job because it's like, wow, like we have to give it to somebody. And Leavitt's younger. He was a recent 4-star recruit out of high school. He has the build, the athleticism, all this. He earned the job. He's clinched the quarterback job, and that's what you need. He's probably gonna have to. If ASU wants to go bowling this year, Leavitt is going to have to be the main reason they win at least one game, right? I said on last week's show talking about how good ASU's defense could be, that if ASU wants to go bowling, they're going to need their defense to win them a game, and that same logic applies to Leavitt. Who knows which game it'll be, right? But they need him to be. I think they need him to be like a little bit more than just serviceable. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't need to be the top quarterback that comes to mind when people are talking about Big 12 quarterbacks, right? You got Noah Fafita, you got Shedeur Sanders, Cam Rising, Garrett Green, West Virginia, Avery Johnson at Oklahoma State. There's good quarterbacks in this conference, 100%. And Sam Leavitt doesn't need to be in that category for ASU to accomplish its goals this year. That's for sure. But he can't be a liability either, and I don't think he's been that. And I think that you add in his dual threat ability, which is real. And he did have a few games last year where he had some decent rushing totals as well. So it's not just something that's shown up at camp and practice, right? Like you've seen it on the field as well. So that's important. With him back there and with this running game, what we think it could be, I think that really just shores everything up. And, the first game against Wyoming is kind of getting thrown into the fire, but, you have to play your schedule and, he would have to play a game eventually, right? So I'm not too worried about it, but they're going to need him to be more than just a bus driver. That's kind of what Oklahoma State is asking Alan Bowman to be. He's like in his 7th year of college football. Yeah, just keep the train on the tracks, give the ball to Ollie Gordon. Our defense is fairly good. You may need to score 21 points in this game, and that'll do it. In a handful of games, that'll be the case for ASU, but not on a regular basis. And so Leavitt is really going to have to step up in his first full season, but I think that he's capable of doing that just with what he's shown at camp. And then you look at some of his recent practices. I believe it was reported on Tuesday's practice that he threw, and ASU had a post of this on their social media. He threw a great deep bomb to Jordan Tyson, who made a diving catch for a touchdown, and then hit Malik McClain on like a 60-yard touchdown when he was rolling out of the pocket. I mean, that you can't teach that, right? And him having an arm like that and ASU having a potent deep passing attack that is complemented by its run game or vice versa, however you want to phrase it, like that opens up so much. And if it will be interesting if they do hit on like 2 or 3 deep bombs against Wyoming. How does that change how ASU gets defended this year? Because I think a lot of teams are like, oh, we got to take take the run game away. And understandably, I mean, that's probably how I would game plan for ASU if I was a defensive coordinator. But if he hits Jordan Tyson and Malik McLean for deep gains, you can't just put 8 in the box or whatever. So that is a underrated storyline to look for in the Wyoming game. But overall, I'm happy with Sam Leavitt as the starter. This is the outcome that we all expected. Not when he transferred here, but it's what we all expected at the end of spring ball. And I'm happy that it seems like he's earned the job. He wasn't just awarded the job. And you saw at Boise State, they went with a kid named, I think his, I don't know, last name is Madsen, and he beat out 5-star transfer Malachi Nelson, who was at USC. I bet if you asked Boise State fans a month ago who they expect to be the starting quarterback, they would have predicted Malachi Nelson. And he is not the starting quarterback. So this was not I don't think this was a guarantee for Leavitt. And there was a point, I don't know, maybe in the second week of camp that it looked like Sims was really closing the gap, and then that kind of faded away. So through it all, whatever the competition, it seems like Leavitt has stood out, and I'm ready. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I really am, because his dual threat ability is something that just not enough people are talking about. And he clearly has the arm strength as well. He has the requisite arm strength. And, I would say we haven't had a dual threat quarterback like this since Jaden Daniels. Emory Jones, I think he could have been, but he just never really did that much on the ground when he was at ASU. So I don't really know if I can call Emory Jones a dual threat quarterback. No one last year was, or maybe Drew Pine would have been, but he didn't play enough. And then, yeah, it was Jaden Daniels and Manny Wilkins. And guess what? Like, Jaden Daniels' tenure at ASU left a lot to be desired, specifically his junior year. He did run a good bit that year, and that kind of kept that was an extra factor for that ASU offense. Manny Wilkins, not a world beater college football quarterback, but his scrambling ability was an edge that those ASU teams needed. And most of those ASU teams didn't have good defenses either. So anyway, Leavitt's scrambling ability and rushing ability is a huge positive addition with him being named quarterback. And, I keep coming back to this, that it did not seem like Michigan State fans were happy with him leaving. It seemed like a lot of them wish he had stayed. Now, who knows how it all would have played out, because Jonathan Smith comes over from Oregon State and brings Aiden Childs. So, like, who knows if Leavitt would have beat out Aiden Childs. And if you're a Michigan State fan, you like where you are fine, even without Leavitt. But I just thought it was interesting that they weren't happy to see him leave. And hopefully that works out for ASU. So good luck to Leavitt. He'll need it. He'll need some luck, as we're going to go through later in the I'm going to rank ASU games by importance, and there are some tough games on there. So like he's gonna need some luck and some things to go his way, but I think that he's capable, and I think that he has the mindset as well that can really help him improve this year. So Leavitt's QB1, and let's go. All right, before we get to ranking ASU's football schedule games by importance, I do want to touch on something else. And I'm not going to lie, when I first saw this headline, it kind of shocked me, but there's a key stipulation in there that makes it really awesome. So ASU men's basketball. Oh, it's not sharing. Hold on. Okay, there we go. ASU men's basketball is playing Duke. And at first, thought that was going to be a non-conference game. And I was excited, but also a little scared because ASU's non-conference schedule already is packed with Gonzaga, New Mexico, Santa Clara, Florida, Grand Canyon, and I'm sure there's someone else. I think they're at UMass. Like that's a loaded non-con. So I did not want to add Duke to the non-con. Well, they didn't add Duke to the non-con because it's an exhibition game. And I love this as an exhibition game because now we'll get to see ASU's relatively talented for ASU standards, or for most. I mean, they have two five-star freshmen. You'll get to see that talented roster go up against maybe the most talented, one and done freshman roster that we've ever seen at Duke with Cooper Flagg. There's a I know there's a guy from South Sudan. I don't know who it is, and then I think there's a few other five-star freshmen that are a part of that too. But I mean, Cooper Flagg is the main attraction, and seeing that game is going to be fun, man. I haven't seen anywhere where it's televised. It is a charity exhibition game that benefits the Duke Hospital. Ralph Amsden will be there because he lives in North Carolina. So I don't know where it will be televised. I imagine it'll at least be on a live stream somewhere because again, there's a lot of really high profile names in that game beyond just Bobby Hurley and John Shire, for Pete's sake. So Bobby put out a statement, as you can see on my phone, kind of. I'm going to read it now. I'm grateful for John Shire and Duke basketball for working with Arizona State basketball to make this exhibition game a reality. It will be special for me to return to Cameron Indoor. Our team is excited for the opportunity to compete against a storied basketball program prior to embarking on our regular season schedule. The collaboration between Duke and ASU to put together this charity exhibition game supporting Duke Children's Hospital is very meaningful to both programs. Okay, so not anything of real note. It's cool. Unfortunately, there's no mention of any sort of live stream or TV channel or anything like that. But I bet there will be, and I really, really want to watch that game because just to see what these guys look like, right? Like Josan Sanone, he's not going to come into that game based on everything we've heard from him and be like, oh, Cooper Flagg's the best guy in the class, so I'll just take it easy and just play within the team and whatever. No, he's going to come in and try to show, hey, I'm the number one pick. I'm the generational guy that you guys are looking for, not Cooper Flagg. And so they'll both, I mean, I just imagine that they'll both have really good games, and and we'll get to see the other new players on ASU's team, like BJ Freeman and Austin Nunez once again. Adam Miller, he's not new, but Jaden Quaintance, obviously. So that'll be fun. I'm really excited about that, and I'm glad ASU and Duke could get that scheduled. All right, now let's get into the fun, or the not so fun, kind of. I created a tier list, which is from TierMaker, the same site that we used to rank ASU's best head coaches since Frank Kush. You can look at that episode. That was probably like 3 or 4 episodes ago. Me and Colton did that. That was a fun exercise. And we're going to I'm going to do a similar exercise right now. So this is going to be ranking. Here we go. Okay. Well, there's not a title here. Basically, what this is ranking ASU's games this season by importance. Not these are the games, I'm kind of explaining it as I go. It's not necessarily ranking the most difficult opponents you play, but there is an element to that. And the reason why games against not as good teams are fairly important is because if you don't win those games, your margin for error just collapses. And so some games this season are going to be far more important than other games if you're looking at this team with a realistic lens. Now, if you want to be ultimate fan, I saw on, so this was a bold prediction on the PHNX. So I want to be very clear, it was a bold prediction. It was like ASU wins 8 games with the #1 defense in the Big 12. If that's a realistic thing, then all of these games are important because you can win a lot of them because you're good. I don't I don't think ASU is going to be that good of a team. Like maybe I don't think there's a realistic scenario where they get to 8 wins. So putting that aside, this is just each game. How important is it compared to the other games on ASU's schedule? So ASU hosting Mississippi State and hosting Utah are not the same in terms of importance. They just aren't. And maybe you think, oh, Utah is more important because it's a conference rival and this is who you're striving to be as a program. I understand that argument, but you're just not good enough as a program to be like, this is the measuring stick game, in my opinion. You can say that in terms of the locker room or whatever. I don't think it's a realistic good idea to be like, hey, like the best possible team, best team that we're playing, this is who we have to be. It's like, okay, how about we just try to be the average team? And then if you're the average team, you can accomplish your goals this year, right? So now that I look at this again, I think I'm going to rearrange the categories. So right now I have 5 categories of games that ASU is in terms of how important each game is. #1 is games ASU should win. Self-explanatory. This one is need to win 2 of these 3 to go bowling. Gave it away. There are 3 teams in this category. So these are kind of games against teams that are at your level entering the season. And people wouldn't be like blown away at, like, if you told someone, oh, the ASU beat, let's just use it, Baylor, use a team that's not on the schedule. No one would be surprised that ASU beat Baylor right now. Right. These are games that you definitely can win. You shouldn't expect to win all of them, but it's very realistic that you win them. This one is intriguing home games. You're hosting some decent teams at home, but you are playing them in Sun Devil Stadium, and not every team adjusts to the weather realities of playing in Tempe, Arizona. Some teams handle it better than others, but some teams from certain climates don't. And that's, one reason why maybe you could beat X team at home. Maybe you could. I don't know. For example, ASU played Washington State at home last year. Does ASU beat Washington State if that game is in Pullman? Almost certainly not. Almost certainly not. So that's kind of the idea with the third category, is like, these are teams that you would be not, like, you're not going to be favored to win this game, but it's not crazy if you want it. Next one is won't be favored but winnable. So this category is this is just unlikely. You're just probably not going to win these games. And both of these games, I believe, are on the road. So won't be favored on the road but winnable. So self-explanatory, right? Like, these are even less likely than the intriguing home games possibilities. And then the last one is just, you shouldn't expect to win. It's college football, and we don't know, none of these teams are actual true, like, powers in the way like a Georgia and Ohio State are, but you still shouldn't expect to win. You just shouldn't. And if you go into the season kind of just accepting that these are losses, it's it's not good if you're like on the team or whatever. Like obviously you should try to win every game. If you're a fan, I think for me personally, it's like, okay, like I'm not gonna freak out if we look bad in this road game or whatever. So now that I look at this again, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch the number one and number two spot. So I'm gonna switch these two just because I think by the fact, oh, I'm kind of contradicting myself on air. I think by the fact that you're acknowledging that ASU is better. No, no, I had it right the first time. I think yes, you are acknowledging that ASU is better in this top category, but you're also you need to win these games because yes, you are better. You can't lose to a team that is on your level or worse than you. So that's why they're going to stay. That category is going to stay at the top. So with that said, let's get rolling. Going to start and just going to go by how the schedule is. So game one, you play Wyoming. Which game? Where should Wyoming go? Mm-hmm. Oh no, definitely, definitely not down there. Um, no, Wyoming is at the top. ASU should win this game. It's going to be difficult, and this is not a FCS game where you can just sleep through it and win, kind of. No, no, no. ASU needs to be at 100% focus in this game against Wyoming, and I think they will be. Uh, as far as I know, there's no bowl ban that's going to be announced 4 days before the game, which I guess could still happen. Knock on wood. Uh, imagine if Ray. I shouldn't even. Imagine if Ray Anderson just like walks onto the Sun Devil practice field on Monday, Monday of next week, and is like, "Hey, actually, you guys are going to be banned from a bowl game this year, and I just wanted to tell you in person, once again." No, no, that'd be terrible. So Wyoming is in this category. I mean, you should beat Wyoming. You should, right? If you do not beat Wyoming, there's no scenario where it's whatever, it's acceptable. No, no, no. You need to win that game for so many reasons. And I would love if I mean, I think there is a reality where it's a double digit win, but we need to see it. So yeah, Wyoming, number one. Mississippi State can't be a road game. Obviously, you host an intriguing home game. No, I'm going up here. I think you can absolutely beat Mississippi State. I think I think Mississippi State is positioned to be one of the worst teams in the SEC, and I think Ralph Amston said this on one of the ASU spaces that Jaden Rashada considered going there when he transferred from ASU in the spring. And if he's considering going there after he left in the spring, that shows me that Mississippi State was not thrilled with his quarterback position, where they're, you know, talking with Jaden Rashad about, hey, you can come here. We have a spot for you here, right? So I think that's something that needs to be considered with them. They have a new coach. I mean, I haven't done a deep dive into their transfers and all that, but it's not like you don't see them super high on the transfer list and stuff like that. So, and they were a bad team last year, and it's not. I'm just not like shaking in my boots of like, oh, we're playing an SEC team. Like they're going to be one of the worst SEC teams. I think this is random, but I think ASU has never beat an SEC team. I don't know if that's true. I can't think of many opportunities that they've had to play SEC teams, right? Like I know they obviously lost to Texas A&M in 2015. And then before, when I was in middle school, they lost twice to Georgia. but that's it. And all three of those teams were considerably better than the 2024 Mississippi State team. So I think they can absolutely win that game. I don't think it's like a lock or anything. Like if I had to predict they're only going to win one of Wyoming and Mississippi State, I would take Wyoming. But I don't think it's crazy if you're an ASU fan to be like, yeah, I think we can beat Mississippi State. I wonder what the line will be in that game, honestly, and it'll depend on week one. But that's I expect there'll probably be a pretty good crowd for that game too, and so it's going to be hot as balls. Obviously they're coming from Mississippi. It's not like they're coming from Maine, but it's still a different type of heat that they'll have to deal with. So it is something to watch for. Game two. This ASU is definitely capable of beating Texas State on the road in week 3. But man, that game scares the crap out of me. It scares me so much. You are playing them on a Thursday night at what would it be, 6:30 Texas time. This is a Texas State team that played really well in the Sun Belt last year. They're kind of a trendy pick to make the 12-team playoff. I don't think their defense is going to be good enough, but in this one game against ASU, they are absolutely capable of winning, and that is a game that just really scares me as an ASU fan. However, it's still a Sun Belt team. Like all of those stipulations said, like ASU has a more talented roster than Texas State, but it's going to be a challenge. It is going to be a challenge in San Marcos. So if you're an ASU fan traveling to that game, I hope that they win. Who knows? Yeah, the at Texas State game just scares the bejesus out of me, and I'm worried about it, but not as worried about it as I am some other games. All right, now we get on into the conference schedule. This is I feel like I made this category for this game. Won't be favored on the road, but winnable. No one's really expecting you to go into Texas Tech and win that game entering the season, right? Things change. I think Texas Tech's quarterback is this guy named Baron Morton, who played a little bit for them last year. I'm looking this up on the fly. Behen Morton. Baron Morton. He is officially their starting quarterback. Okay, so he's 22. I thought that he was like 19, so he's older than I expected. So he played a decent bit last year. 250 passing attempts, 62%, 12 touchdowns, 7 picks. So he's solid. I don't think that he is a world beater quarterback, and I think we'll see. Maybe he'll be awesome this year. But I just think Texas Tech, their roster is better than ASU's most likely. I mean, they took Jalen Conyers from us. They have more NIL than a lot of teams in college football, but definitely ASU. So they're won't be like, if ASU is 2-2 out of their opening stretch, I don't think that's unacceptable. And if they go 2-2 in their first 4 games, I think all of their goals are still on the table. So, but winning on the road at Texas Tech will be difficult. There's no two ways about it. But it's I mean, Texas Tech was like a 6-6 team last year. Again, last year, but that's not Alabama, right? Like it's not it wouldn't be the craziest thing ever if ASU won this game. Kansas was a better team than Texas Tech, but I have them in the intriguing home game category. I spoke earlier about the weather at Sun Devil Stadium. This game is October 5th. So there's still a decent chance this could be like 100 degrees at kickoff. And, they're coming from the Midwest. It's not going to be super hot in the Kansas City area in October. Now it's not going to be crazy cold. It's probably a great time to live in that area. But I think this is a game that ASU that can win. I think it's a sneaky game. I think there's a lot of hype with Kansas. I understand why. Um, but I don't think that this is some foregone conclusion that ASU will lose. Now, like you're gonna have to win one of these intriguing home games to go bowling, almost certainly. So that has to be considered. And I think another thing is like Jalen Daniels of Kansas is injury prone. Oh, yeah, I mean, I hate using that phrase with football players, but like he's more of an injury risk than other players. And he's had issues in the past. So there's a decent chance that he is not playing in this game. And their quarterback from their backup, Jason Bean, is now, I don't know, he's in the NFL somewhere. So it's, you know, they might not be able to survive the way they did last year. So I've Kansas in the intriguing home games category. They play the ASU hosts Utah the next week. Where do I put? No, I'm sorry. Like I don't think ASU's. I think they won't get destroyed in the same way they did last year, and it is the one thing the ASU has in its back pocket for this is that it's a Friday night game. I'm almost certain October 11th I mean, the fact that it's already scheduled suggests to me that it's a Friday night game. Let's see here. Let me talk for a bit. This is October. Yeah, it's a Friday, October 11th. So that does add a little bit of whimsy in there. It's a Friday night game, but I just think Utah's better. It may not be a just blowout. I could see this like Utah wins 34-24 and pulls away with, whatever, a score at the end to make it a 10-point game type of deal. But I just don't see ASU winning that game. Cincinnati up here. I don't think Cincinnati is going to. I think Cincinnati, the more I've learned about them, the more they have Corey Kiner at running back and they have Indiana transfer quarterback Brendan Sorsby. And I don't think Cincinnati is going to be like a bottom two team in the Big 12. But this is a team that ASU is capable of beating. I mean, last year's Cincinnati team was bad. And I think they were actually worse than ASU. And I think if you look, I'm not going to go through their game log, but they got blown out more than ASU did. And, and again, they were cycling up from the group of five, and they saw what that reality was like last year. ASU is not cycling up to the Big 12. It is a lateral move um, from the Pac-12, it's particularly when you look at last year's Pac-12. And that's, we can, debate about the Big 12 versus the Pac-12 over the 10-year playoff era or whatever. We're talking about last year, Pac-12 was better, and then ASU shifting over into this league, which, anyway, I'm not getting into it. But, like, this is a game that ASU is capable of winning, even though it's on the road. This is at Cincinnati is absolutely a game that they are capable of winning. I would love to, I would much rather have Cincinnati come to Tempe. That would make things a lot easier, and that would put that game in the you should win, but they don't. So that sucks. However, you get 8 days of rest because you play Utah on the Friday before, and you get to Cincinnati at a pretty good time of the year. October 19th, it should be very pleasant weather. And, that's if you watch ASU football, unless they're going up to Seattle where they always win, usually the road games in cold weather do not go well for them. As you'll see in my analysis later on in this, but I just don't think that nope. I don't think that that's a game that you can't go into that game and be like, oh, it's a road game, we're going to lose. No, no, no. You are capable of beating Cincinnati. So really wish this would load. Here we go. So that's that. You know what? man, I don't know what to do with Oklahoma State because it's either going to be in these bottom two. I'm going to go, shouldn't expect to win. I'm going to go with my gut. So the reason why might have put them in the won't be favored on the road, but winnable is I just don't trust that Oklahoma State quarterback situation. And I saw ASU play Oklahoma State last year in Tempe, and I was not impressed by Oklahoma State. I just wasn't. And again, huge stipulation. This was before they like went with Bowman and really focused it in with Ollie Gordon, right? So that is huge context. But on the flip side, this was the game where ASU had to deal with losing its two starting tackles in the same game. And so that's why they got shut out in the second half. Um, I'm going to put Oklahoma State in the shouldn't expect to win. It's a road game. That's a tough stadium. It's not going to be warm, right? Like November 2nd in Stillwater is not the coldest place ever, but it's not going to be warm. And the benefit you do have is that you get more time to rest because you have a bye. So that helps. And I didn't mention that with Kansas too. So that strengthens my Kansas point is that you have 2 weeks, 2 weeks off. So that helps. But with the Kansas, Oklahoma State, I don't think that I think that overall they're a good enough team where ASU just can't really expect to win that game. But you'll see that of the three teams that are in the shouldn't expect to win category, I would say Oklahoma State is the weakest of those three, but they're good enough that I just can't expect to win. UCF is intriguing home game. I think UCF is a team that has the capability of winning the Big 12, but they were still, they went 6-6 last year. They were the best of the G5 teams moving up, but they still weren't that good. They weren't incredible, and they have good running backs. They bring in KJ Jefferson. It's going to be a difficult win. I feel like probably more difficult than Kansas now that I just sounded out. But who knows? I mean, this is 2.5 months from now. Like we don't know. We will know who will have won the presidential election by that point. So that's a while from now. So, but that's why I have it in the intriguing home game category. I don't think UCF's defense is going to be that great, and this will also be their first time coming to Tempe. So they say, oh, it's like you got to deal, like ASU has to deal with being in a new league. Well, if you're coming to Arizona State, you have to deal with being in a new league with Arizona State, right? And that applies to any Big 12 school going to the Pac-12 school that came in. So that's why I got UCF. This one might be my least, like, I just don't really know as much, but yeah, I'm just going to put in the intriguing home games. And it wouldn't surprise me if they won that game. So, Kansas State, this is the easiest one. Easiest one. They're in the should not expect to win category. If you go to Kansas State in mid-November in Kansas, so not in Oklahoma, which is obviously south to Kansas, north, it's almost winter. It's the end of fall. It's Manhattan, Kansas. Easily could be snow on the ground. Like this is a game. I mean, if ASU's having a bad season, worse than we've predicted on this show, then I do not want to even imagine what this game will look like. If they're having a decent season, then it's still going to be very difficult to win there. So at Kansas State is just going to be extremely difficult. I think that, like, I say this as someone, I think the Avery Johnson Heisman hype stuff is just a little overblown. And I believe they have a lot of guys to replace on their O-line. Those are real, issues. But it's just not. I would be if they won at Kansas State, that is the most shocking win. It would be kind of equivalent to beating UW, which they didn't do, obviously. But had they beaten UW last year in Seattle, it would be kind of equivalent to that. Like it just like whoa, like you just would not expect winning at K-State. So there's that. I got BYU in the games you should win category. I think I am BYU was bad last year. They were a bad team, a lot like ASU, except they went 5-7, but they won all their close games. So I'm going to look at see even ESPN analytics not exactly loving ASU, understandably, um, but they expect us to win that one. I would expect a big crowd. There will be a good chunk of BYU fans there, but I think there will be a good chunk of ASU fans there as well because BYU is a known name brand for your average Joe ASU fan. They are familiar with BYU much more than they're familiar with UCF or Oklahoma State or whomever. So there's that. Now I'm going to look because BYU did go 5-7 in last year. And I believe so that they beat Southern Utah way more than we did. Whoop de freaking do. Whoop de do. Their first win was 14-0 over Sam Houston. That's weird. At Arkansas, that was an impressive win. I'll give him that. Like that's a good impressive win. Okay, you lose at Kansas. You beat Cincinnati at home, a bad Cincinnati team, but you beat them at home. You get to 4-1 start. Like, okay, destroyed at TCU. Again, this was a 5-7 TCU team. They got they didn't they didn't get doubled up. They literally got quartered up. How often does that happen? You score exactly 1/4 of the points as the opponent. That's the team you're playing. Like that's bad. Big win over Texas Tech. As I remember this game because I covered it for the Action Network. Texas Tech was down to their third string quarterback. So congrats on winning that game. You deserve it. But uh, it it wasn't the most impressive win when you consider the circumstances. At Texas, okay, like ASU played tough teams last year and they got blown out. So you lose 35-6 at Texas. Okay. At West Virginia, you lose 35-7. That's bad. You host Iowa State, get absolutely destroyed. Oklahoma, okay, these last two were legitimate, and these last two were legitimate competitive performances. So I'm not gonna. Nope, stop it. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is what I need. The back end coding of ESPN.com. These last two were not disastrous performances, and heck, I mean they came pretty damn close to going to a bowl game. So there's that. But what you can clearly see is like their depth. When you get destroyed 3 weeks in a row like that, and you get really destroyed 3 out of 4 weeks or 4 out of 5 weeks, and then in Big 12 play, you have 2 wins. You're 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 5 of 7 Big 12 losses are by double digits because that's Kansas loss. That's bad. That is bad. I don't think I don't think it was because they lost 3 games. So even ASU stayed more competitive, I believe. But and again, ASU or BYU won its more of its closer games. So BYU last year was probably better than ASU, but not by much. And guess who's not there? Keaton Slovis. And there's no way they got the same type of portal impact that ASU did. I haven't looked at 24/7 rankings or whatever, but that's a tough spot to be in at BYU in terms of the portal. So I'm putting that in a game that ASU should win. Well, this one, it's only 2 possibilities for U of A because they play them in Tucson. Shouldn't expect a win. No, won't be favored on the road, but winnable. So I don't think ASU. I think if ASU goes into the Territorial Cup with only having 5 wins, they're almost certainly not going to go bowling. U of A is the better quarterback until further notice. They 100% have the best player on the field in Tetairoa McMillan. They have a future NFL, I think he's like a first rounder. I don't know his name, but offensive lineman. And Takario Davis is a good corner, and they have Jacob Manu. Like they have some guys, particularly on offense, and they have some good running backs too. I think U of A's running back room is pretty good. The reason I put it in this category, in one, it's a rivalry game, so there's a little bit of that spice. But two, I think that we don't know what like we know about the high end stars on U of A, right? Like uh I just, T Mac and Montana Lamonius Craig is a good receiver. And like they have some guys, like they legitimately have some guys. What does the back end of the starting 22 look like? What does their depth look like? I mean, I'm sure it's better than ASU. But the reason I'm putting it as winnable is we just we don't know what to expect from U of A. So that's why I'm putting it there. Now that I look at this again, I'm debating flipping U of A and Oklahoma State in this. Uh, oh man, do I make a new category? No, I'm not going to do that. Um, I'll just keep it as is. But that's how this shakes out. And so let's say if ASU wants to go bowling, let's just give them the two games I think they should win. Not guarantees. They are not guarantees. Say they win 2 out of 3, right? So that's 4 wins. You split in the intriguing home games and you pick off one of these games, 4 of which are on the road. That's how you go bowling. Now, the downside is, let's say you only win one of these games, you win one of these, that's 2 wins, and you don't get either of these. Like, there's a reality where you get, I went on the West Virginia, the Ryan and Rush show a few weeks ago. Low point could be 2-10. And like, if you only beat Wyoming and Cincinnati, then yeah, like that'll be bad. I don't think it's going to be like that. But I guess when you look at the schedule, there is room for opportunity, but you need to take care of business. A loss to Wyoming would be very detrimental. It wouldn't kill you, but it would be very detrimental. It would be. And at that point, I'm really hoping to get to 5 wins more than I'm hoping to get to 6 wins. I just that's a game you need to win, particularly with their top running back out. So anyway, that's how I see it. I'll share this on social media when I get the show posted. But yeah, that'll be it. So next episode, we will preview game 1 against Wyoming and kind of get into it and give our official season predictions. So should be fun. Hopefully there's no crazy breaking news that happens between now and our next episode, which should be sometime early next week, so we can get it up. But yeah, please like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, go Sun Devils.